Hello, everyone. Welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, founder at Online Seller UK. And today I've got Eugenio from Mayan with me, and we'll be talking about Amazon advertising in the US market. So, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I've listened to it quite a lot, so excited to get to chat with you.
Excellent. So, I think it's good to start with your introduction, your company's introduction, and then we can dive into the topic.
Definitely. I'm the product manager at Mayan, and what we really focus on is helping sellers save time and grow their Amazon FBA business through optimization tools, mostly focused around advertising and making sure that sellers don't have to worry about that. I mean, there's a million things that a seller has to do from product discovery, inventory, and we want to make ads easier for them so that they can have more time back for the rest of their business.
Excellent. So, advertising, it's an important part on Amazon at the moment because of lots of competition out there and things like that. So, but it's equally not always easy to manage, and things change all the time. So, so let's start with talking about, what are the things that we need to be careful in terms of running and advertising on Amazon US.
Yeah, I think one of the things to really be careful of is understanding first the market, especially if you're currently based in the UK or in Europe and you're looking to advertise in the US. Maybe it's the same product that you're selling, but the language should be different. For example, if we just delve into sports, I mean, there's different sports interests. It's the same language, but different cultural interests. And so I think it's always important to just be aware of those. And we see some trends, especially with products that maybe a more generic version of the product can work better in the US, whereas in Europe, maybe something more multifunctional is important. So there's different buyer needs, and as with as any seller knows, you need to do your research about a product, and not just because you already have one that's selling well in another marketplace will it apply for the US. It's important to do the research of how are your competitors, what are the price points, and how do you need to differentiate your product, and also the advertising. What keywords are you going to use? And especially when we talk about Amazon, not every market is the same. US is very competitive, and you see other marketplaces like in Mexico and Brazil, the bids are way lower, and you can get a much higher ROAS. It won't be the case necessarily in the US. So those are some of the things to definitely watch out for.
Yeah, excellent. So you mentioned about the competition and competitor keywords and things like that. So, for somebody who is starting up or even started to do advertising in Amazon US, is there any tools? What sort of tools do you recommend for the keyword research?
Yeah, so Amazon itself gives good suggestions for keywords. The problem there is the volume of keywords that they suggest, and many times they're quite broad. I think something that is quite important is for, especially if you're just trying to establish your product, to make sure that you advertise on longer tail keywords that are very relevant to your product. Those are probably going to be a lower volume, but it can help increase your sales velocity if it's a very relevant keyword for your product, and it's more of in a niche market. So I would definitely not just go with any generic keyword for the product. Definitely try to go on the longer tail side, especially when you're trying to establish, just so you can start climbing the ranks, and then maybe you can branch out to more generic keywords where at that point, you're more likely to have conversions after you have more reviews from the local marketplace. Obviously, any reviews you have help, but localized ones are better. And so the Amazon tools already are good. Obviously, there's other tools out there that help with keywords. Something that we've done to take the guesswork out is that we've actually built NLP models. It sounds a bit technical, but we basically look at your listing and have models that run keywords against your listing and we score them based on how relevant they are and whether they're longer tail or the more high volume keywords, and create a score so that you don't even need to be worrying about that, and you can just add the keywords. So that's a great feature that we have, and there's many tools out there, but I think the most important thing is to not do it randomly. You need to be strategic about the keywords that you add, because that does eventually impact your organic ranking as well.
Okay, excellent. So with the keywords we have, so we have 3 main types of keywords: the broad, the phrase, and the exact. And there are lots of different opinions with different people. As you can imagine,
Yes.
Again, I'd like to ask your opinion also. So what do you suggest? Do we start with broad or phrase or exact? So where do we start with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of debate about it, especially broad. I feel phrase and exact is more settled. Broad brings about a lot of questions. I think they're all valuable. You just need to understand what they're for, what each one is for. Broad is a great way to find from something that is top of funnel or mid funnel, something broad, to find something more specific that eventually should be added to exact and phrase as exact and phrase matches. So we see broad as a great way to let customers tell you what they're searching for. And that's where the value lies. But the next step is, how do you make sure that you capture that and store it for later? And the way we do that is we look at search term data all the time. Which are the search terms that generated sales? And if they generate sales, we make sure that those get added to phrase and exact match types. And even expanding broader to that, if you look at category targeting, that's a great way to target a whole blanket category of products. And from there, determine which are the products that are leading to sales, and adding those as ASIN or product targets in some of your other campaigns. So, and we see that similar as broad. So we see those are great opportunities to let customers tell you what they're looking for, and then you can build out your strategy based on that.
Yeah, I think it's excellent suggestions. So I'm going to ask you about 2 more metrics which came to my mind. One is CPC, which is cost per click, and another one is ROAS, returns on ad spend. So so when we started talking, you were talking about US being a very competitive market compared to Mexico or Brazil. So yeah, so when somebody from, say, for example, Europe or UK goes into advertising on Amazon US, sometimes there's a shock, the amount of CPC cost there is. So do you want to talk to us a little bit difference between, what sort of CPCs are expected in the US compared to the other smaller market? You can compare with Mexico if you like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, percentage-wise, it varies greatly by the type of product that you're selling. I would say in the US, it's very common that bids are going to be above 40 cents, probably sometimes even way more than that, depending on the product. But I think like what's important is to not get bogged down just on what the CPC is, but also just the whole volume and how do conversion rates look in comparison. What's the price point that you're able to manage in comparison to other markets? So I think we always see higher. Sometimes we see 100% higher than other markets, and that's obviously a factor both of the market where sellers in. So in a market like Brazil, where bids are sometimes even less than 10 cents, like reales, like very, very low. We can see like a bit of a sticker shock at the CPCs, but that's missing the whole context of the marketplace, where you're reaching a much wider audience. There's usually a better appetite for purchases, and so maybe you can get a better conversion rate. And in the long run, that can boost your ROAS. You can still have pretty good tacos in the long run. But if you just get bogged down on the CPC itself, it's where we see challenges. And you need to be able to take that appetite to and know, okay, we're dealing with a different marketplace. Maybe the bids are higher, but there's competitors of yours there selling. So it can work. It's just fine tuning. And it goes back to the same principle. It's you should treat it as you're launching a new product in a new market, and like understand the dynamics of that particular market. And it's the same thing with CPCs. It's a different marketplace. It's going to be higher CPCs. It's the market with the highest penetration rate for Amazon. It's covering millions of households in the US. It's natural there's going to be more competition. That shouldn't scare you from wanting to launch.
Yeah, an excellent way of describing this. So let's talk about returns on the ad spend before we close the podcast today.
Yeah.
So what sort of expectations should we have in the US market in general for the ROAS?
Yeah. So we usually see especially for an international seller that's trying to go to a US market, that they'll have a higher ROAS in the market they're currently in. And normally we see about a couple digits difference. So say they're having a 7 ROAS, maybe within a few months, obviously the first month, it's like a very different ballgame, but within a few months that they'll reach 4 or 5 ROAS. Perhaps. So we always see that it's going to be lower than what they're currently facing because of that competition. But we see that very quickly the volume of sales outpaces what they make internationally. And we've seen situations where the sellers come in and very quickly US becomes 50% or more of their sales, which is great. And where it's important, as I said before, like you need to take the whole market into consideration. Maybe the ROAS will be lower, but if you can work out your margins to work within that ROAS, the volume that you can get can be meaningful, and the net profit that you can get out of it may be higher than what you're currently getting in your current marketplace. And obviously you have both that just grows the business. So that's why we think it's important to keep the holistic view, especially when it comes to ROAS. Almost guaranteed it's going to be lower than the existing marketplace. The competition is just higher. There's obviously some niche areas where we've seen the opposite, but most often than not, it's going to be lower ROAS, but much higher volume. And if you can work out the margins, the net profit can be better.
Okay, no, that's an excellent way of describing things. No, thank you for that. So, so we've got quite good things we discussed. So, in terms of Mayan, so your company, so how does your company help sellers for the Amazon US market?
Yeah, so we have a team of account managers that most of them are actually Amazon sellers or former sellers running million-dollar businesses on Amazon. And we've created a set of tools that help us manage customer accounts and become really efficient at delivering not just an increase in ROAS, but improvements in tacos. Like, since we're so seller driven and so many and we have sellers that are working directly with you, we don't care just about increasing your ad spend. We care about growing your business, and that includes profits, everything. And so what our tools do, and we have the managed service piece, and also we just are in the midst of our self-serve tool launch that help you automate all the advertising that you need to do on Amazon. So the things that I talked about of taking broad keywords and adding them to phrase and exact based on search terms, we automate that for you. If you're running low on inventory and you have 15, 20 days left, and you know that it's going to take you a month to get supplies back in stock, we have automations that help you pause all your advertising for that particular product. And so that you don't have to worry until that Amazon is still keeping the sales velocity high. That way you can decrease it a bit momentarily. Obviously, it's not a situation you love, but it's better than being out of stock, right? And so helping with those automations so that the seller can be focused on launching in new markets, on improving the listings, on finding new products to launch. And so we really just want to give time back to the sellers. I mean, we've talked to sellers that sometimes spend upwards of 20 hours a week on advertising because Amazon really has become a pay-to-play platform. You need to spend on advertising, but if you're spending all your week on advertising and not on the rest of your business, then you're gonna have situations of some products overstocked, then you need to see how you liquidate them. So product discovery becomes very important. And so it's important to not disregard these areas. And so we just try to make it easier for you to focus on the other areas of your business and know that there's automations in place that you control, helping with the advertising.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for talking to us today and giving us a really good understanding of Amazon US.
No,
and
thank you. I appreciate it.
Most crucial about CPC and
Yeah.
ROAS. So you have a great day, and then I'll speak to you soon. All the best. Bye for now.
Thank you.